potential application is always being reviewed. Guarantors play the biggest role. 6 month worth payslip. This always shows how dedicated you are. There's a lot of legal procedures, administrative processes involved. They are always forced to go with people who applied first. The minimum can be for 3 month period of time, but I always advise go for 6. But all the documents have to be proper. Getting the contract done is going to take a lot of time. Hi, hello, and welcome back, my dear friends. It's your Nawaz Sharif back with the new content. So today in the video, we are gonna see why so many students get rejected for accommodation. This is a very common question that's being asked to me, and I believe that there's a lot of viewpoints that the people must understand before coming to any conclusions. At the first, you must think how the landlord would think. In France, it's usually that the potential application is always being reviewed. They would be seeing whether this potential client would be able to pay the rent, will not cause any trouble later on, will be able to adjust with the living rules and regulations and all these things. There's a lot of things that the landlord would actually think about before allowing you to stay in their accommodation. When it comes to student residence, again, they think that whether this individual is a perfect fit, is okay to live in our accommodation, and there's going to be a lot of thought process before they actually provide you with the accommodation. So there's always going to be a profile assessment before any accommodation provider or any landlord lets you stay in their place. So then comes as the play of guarantors. In France, guarantors play the biggest role. Usually, the landlords request either for Vizal, which is a French government state-backed guaranteeing process, or there's always a physical French person that has to actually guarantee you for this specific process. Usually, there is a French person who potentially earns thrice the rent amount of yours. For example, in my case, I paid 650 as my rent, so there should be a French person who is able to guarantee the landlord saying that yes, this guy is going to pay you 650 as your rent, and I'm earning 650 into 3 on 1950 as my pay at least for the person who is guaranteeing me. And yes, in case if this specific person does not pay the rent or does not pay you for any damage that's being caused for your accommodation, I will be the one who will cover this up. So there should be someone who potentially gives you the guarantee, and this actually plays the biggest role. There can be people who say that okay, your parents in your respective countries are fine to be covered with they might request you the pay slips or bank statements, but that's the most rarest case at all. So there's usually requested for a French professional or a French person who guarantees you. So there can be your friends, your family, or anyone who you actually know. If not, there are these companies like Guarantee. They will actually assess your profile, again provide you with a guarantor for a specific fees that you will have to pay. So in my case, yes, I didn't know anyone living in France who can actually guarantee me. So I went with the website called Guarantee Me, and I got my guarantee certificate saying, yes, this guy will be guaranteed by our company or by a specific person. I'm not really sure how that actually worked. Did they find a person or no? But they provided with the statement saying, yes, we can guarantee this person up to this specific amount. And I think it was more than what actually was shown for my rent. Potentially, I was asked to submit the bank statements and the pay slips of my guarantor who was going to pay for my stay in France, for my education in France. So once that was done, they gave me the certificate, and that was submitted to my accommodation provider, which was a student residence in Lille, and that was good to go. So potentially, either you know someone who is French and who is already living in France and who is earning thrice the amount of the rent, or you go along with Vizal, which is a state-funded program, or you find websites which provide you with the certificate. So your guarantors actually play the good role in this situation. If your guarantors are well off and they can actually say that yeah, I can cover any amount, that's actually really good. And income. Usually, there are landlords who ask for the bank statements, pay slips of your sponsor for the education in France. But in my case, it was my father who guaranteed me. So I was asked to submit the bank statements and the pay slips of my father, so that these documents are also verified. And these documents are also actually very playing the most essential role in these situations. So I would always advise that you submit 6 month worth payslip and also 6 month worth bank statements in this case of applying for any situation, or for example for starting from your visa process, for your campus plans, for your accommodation settling. This always shows how dedicated you are towards. The minimal amount of period could be 3 months. However, I always advise go for 6 months, or even if you can more than that. So just to simply to prove that you are really, really, really enthusiastic towards whatever activity that you're undertaking. Then comes is your French system. Obviously, there's a lot of legal procedures, administrative processes involving in terms of legally letting you, renting a specific apartment. So that also plays a really crucial role into that specific thing. And timing, it truly, truly matters. There's always intake during the September and also during Jan. And if in case you are applying just 10 days or 15 days before the intake, that actually is gonna affect you depending on every single city. For example, in EdVize, we have a client who is looking for accommodation in Lyon, and this specific person wants to move in the month of August. However, all our potential clients did not go ahead or did not like to proceed because the reason was it was just 10 days before the actual start of the day, because they truly have a lot of demand, and they always prefer the people who apply well ahead because they have to go ahead with it because they applied long time back itself. So they are always forced to go with people who applied the first and get done with the process as quick as possible, and they do not accept any profile that's applying very, very late. So always I would advise that you look for accommodations well ahead in time. And in fact, even that was the biggest problem and the trouble that I faced, because my accommodation I was looking forward for August, but I did not get the suitable one, and I delayed and delayed and delayed, and I booked 3 days before the time that I actually had to rent it out. So then you get into your documents. All the documents that you get asked to submit must be legally adhering the rules and regulations and the laws of the specific country that you're applying in. For example, in this case, the France, it has to be always proving that you are dedicated. For example, as I advise, the minimal period that is requested for your bank statements and your pay slips, and also in case of Indians, it is also ITR, your tax filings. The minimum can be for 3 month period of time, but I always advise go for 6 months because it shows your dedication. All the documents have to be proper, which is acceptable, and it's not mismatched or not submitted anywhere it's not asked for. For example, you can't submit pay slips where it is asked for bank statements, so it's always necessary that you do all the things that are viable, ethical, and proper in a structured way possible. Not submit anything that's in a wrong way to be described. So yeah, these are the mistakes as well which are to be done. Submitting the wrong document, submitting in the wrong time, and submitting not in the specific corner or where it is asked for. So and not contacting them in the email or calling them up asking or following up upon your accommodation is one of the actual most important thing that you should do. For me, I kept on calling them every single day saying, yeah, I need this accommodation, this, that. Yes, that's when I get my accommodation done as quick as possible, because setting your contract done, getting a contract done is gonna take a lot of time, and you just gotta keep following up because usually in France the processes get quite delayed. So following up and getting your work done is always the best advisable thing that I would tell you. So these are the things that I would advise in terms of accommodation, and I really hope this information helps each one of you. And anyone who has a query or a question to be asked, you can surely reach out to me on my DMs or comment below, and I will always find time to respond to the queries. So until the next content, it's your Nawaz Sharif. See you.